Winning a fantasy football league requires finding the next Bucky Irving. But the truth is, finding Bucky, the next Bucky, is not an easy task. That's why today we're going to break down the top candidates to be the next Bucky Irving. This will be a running back edition. Of course, we'll do wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends, but this episode is all about finding the next Bucky Irving. We'll dig into the later rounds, the middle rounds, and we'll try and identify the most likely candidates to be Bucky Irving 2025. Because let's be honest, in order to win a league, you need that advantage. Your boy Smitty is here to give you that advantage. Let's go find him. When identifying the next Bucky Irving, it requires a certain amount of skill set in the deep diving sleeper fantasy football category. So when looking at a ranking, I can sit here and say, here's a guy in Isaac Orendo that has the potential Bucky Irving upside, and that's of course present. Scattaboo, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet. These are all players that have that Bucky Irving, that 2025 win a league value. The question comes down to, how do you really know which one of these players that I'm spouting off? And I've got more. That's not the end of the list. That's not even the list in order. But how do we know which one of these players is most likely, and you can never predict it foolproof, most likely going to be in the best situation to give us that Bucky Irving potential? I think it comes down to a couple things. Number one, I think you have to have a great offense. If you don't have a great offense, how are you going to survive not only the climb above a player that might be slated in front of the player in question? Because this isn't going to be find the next Bucky Irving that's blatantly right in front of you, that's starting and getting all the carries. So it has to be somebody that can climb up in a great offense and have at least the obstacle of volume not in the way of the player. Bucky had tons of volume. It was a great offense. Puka Nacua in years past, from a wide receiver perspective, great offense. Volume, target hog, more catches than he can handle headed his way. Kyren Williams was a Bucky Irving. Who's the next Kyren Williams? It was Bucky. Bucky was the next Kyren, and if you reverse engineer Bucky, he was on a good offense like Kyren. The volume was there, the talent was there. So the only thing we've got to do really to identify the next Bucky is do the same thing we did with identifying the next Kyren. So what made Kyren translate? Offense. Number two would be a reasonable path to the lineup in that great offense. So number one, great offense. Number two, reasonable path to the lineup. In the case of Kyren and Bucky, the offenses were amazing. The path to the lineup was not crazy in both respects. Rachaad White was a good player, but it was definitely a job that could be taken if an elite talent emerged. Bucky was an elite talent. He emerged in a great offense. So far, the recipe is par for the course. Kyren, there was nothing standing in Kyren's way, and the offense was magnificent. So the pathway and offense need to be present. Number three to me would be a very simple and obvious one: special talent. And you almost look for this first to be a qualifier to then check the boxes of elite offense and then also pathway. So if the player's not special, I don't think we'd even toss him in. So in one way, number three is the qualifier. But I believe you need all three of these in order to be considered a candidate to be the next Bucky Irving, or if it's Puka Nacua and we're doing a wide receiver show, which is not this one. This one's running backs. You need all three. So we're going to take the players that are special, we'll reverse engineer it, go backwards from 3, 2 to 1, and we'll see which players can spill over from bucket to bucket and be the final players left in bucket 1, which would mean they passed the special test, they passed the pathway test, and they're in a great offense. 1, 2, 3. And I'm only looking for deeper talent. I'm not going to dig into players that are like in round 3 or maybe even round 4. We're talking about round 6 on type players, and we'll brush up against some close calls because some people are going to say that's not an unknown player, and we want to talk about unknown players, Smitty, but it might not be as unknown from year to year. Kyren was a free agent player. Bucky was a lot of times drafted, or he was a free agent. A guy like BTJ was taken really late in drafts, but he became the number 4 overall wide receiver. So it's kind of perspective as to what you believe the next Bucky Irving to be. I'm going to dig really deep. I'm going to work my way up the ADP ranks, and that might leave us with a player at the end that could be borderline, as I said, a player that someone's going to complain about and say, oh, they're too well known. But again, there's no real rules to this. I think the first player that comes to mind is Brashard Smith, and the kid's special. There's no doubt about it. He's special. We'll get into the details, but I'm just going to throw all the players I like onto the board, and then we'll decide whether they're capable of being in the other buckets, the pathway and then the offense. So Blue, fantastic player to throw on the board here. I love Blue. Keaton Mitchell, love Keaton Mitchell. He's a mini H-hand, if you will. So Blue, Brashard Smith, love these candidates so far, and no one's saying they're guaranteed to be as good as Bucky, or that even these three guys will be the final guys at the end of the road. And I'll rank them when we go through it. I believe we could throw Jarquez Hunter in there, and having Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams become those explosive players that everybody's like, that's the next Puka, that's the next Kyron. They're coming from McVay. So Hunter fits the bill. If something happened to Kyron, Bashal Tootin, I mean, goes without saying, he's a midseason monster on our rankings. So of course I love this guy. Garendo fits the bill in tremendous fashion. Garendo and Jordan James, in some ways you want to cuff these guys together, but they clearly together have a same kind of vibe as Garendo and Mason from last year. But Jordan James is the rookie running back, the San Francisco 49ers. So we got to couple those two together in some cases. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, you guys know how much I love this kid over in Washington. They like him too. He's very quick, he's big, he's strong. The staff loves him. His ability to one cut and go, and also be kind of shifty. It's perfect fit for the Commanders. Look, Pacheco is a big name. I know some people are gonna be like, how is he on this list? But he's going in the 9th round. He's somebody to watch, and we're gonna kind of pair him with Brashard Smith in a way. But you keep going through, and a lot of these guys are rookies, and that tends to be the case. Puka Nacua, the next Puka Nacua. Well, Puka was a rookie. Kyron was a sophomore when he broke out, but he got injured and missed his whole rookie year. Bucky was a rookie. BTJ was a rookie. Rookies are going to a lot of the time be a majority of the players that we call out as the next Kyron, the next H-Han, the next Bucky. H-Han was a rookie when he broke out. Benson could be that guy. He's a little higher in ADP cost. He's certainly not going to be somebody you add off the waiver wire. Everybody here but Pacheco and Benson could be, in theory, a waiver wire grab in some grandma leagues, but obviously some deep leagues, or especially dynasty, these guys will be picked up and held. But these are all great candidates so far. And again, this is step one. Who's special? And then we'll throw them into bucket 2, those that qualify, and then throw those that qualify into bucket 1. It's kind of like a sifter, and we're sifting and coming up with a result to find the gold at the end. Ray Davis, a great candidate as well. And Cook is back practicing and not in holdout mode currently, but that could change again. We've seen that happen. Let's throw him over here. Pacheco, we got him on screen. Bigsby with Tootin, you got to throw them kind of together in a sense. Bigsby has great metrics that prove he's capable if he's given the work. He could be somebody that thrives. I think Mason obviously proved last year he can be an elite player. Jordan Mason, throw him in this bucket. He's a fantastic option. Probably going to get a lot of work even if Aaron Jones somehow stayed healthy. We've got Dylan Sampson, who I love a lot. He was my one of my dark horse running backs to be a starter and drafted to be a starter. He obviously was not, but that's okay. We still love him, and he's kind of a crafty underdog now, which is good in some way. And then we start getting kind of closer to this territory of, when do we draw the line? Scadaboo's certainly a player that needs to be thrown on this list. Again, a rookie. But this is where we start getting close to where you almost say, Smitty, for me, the next Bucky or the next Kyron or the next H-Han might be more closer to a free agent than not a free agent, right? But I don't really necessarily feel that way. I think we can still find a player that gets drafted that has that impact. Who cares if they're a free agent or a 9th round pick, like in Pacheco's case, or Charbonnet goes in round 9 or 8 or 10. Scadaboo, same thing. Mason goes maybe 8, round 8, 9, 10. Why does that disqualify you from being a league winner, which is what really is meant by saying who's the next Bucky, the next BTJ, the next Kyron. BTJ was drafted. And so when we do the wide receiver example of who's the next Puka, we'll also kind of say who's the next BT, because, you might have that where a guy comes, from a Kyle Williams territory or something. I'm not saying Kyle Williams is the next BT. I'm just trying to give you an example. But I think we're getting close to not being able to go any further up the ADP board. I mean, I want to say guys like Judkins and these are just too big of names that people are kind of on top of. So I don't know if we're going to want to throw these guys in here. I was going to even touch on potentially putting Harvey on this board. Let me reference it and talk about it just to get it out of the way. Judkins, Caleb Johnson, these are all potential players that you could consider the next Bucky Irving, no doubt. This would be my number one candidate if we were going to go a little bit more expensive shopping for our next Bucky. If we were going to climb into rounds 5 and 6, this would be the guy that I would put at the top of the list to be the next Bucky Irving, especially because he plays like Bucky, he runs like Bucky, he reminds me of Bucky, and he's going to have the impact that Bucky had. So I'm going to already crown him the winner if we're going to go that far up the ADP board. But let's pretend that we're not going to go that far up, and let's end it here. Let me give a quick little look at my thefantasyfootballshow.com rankings. And this is my year-round content site. Make sure you check it out. Let me just give it a little gander at the RBs and just make sure I'm not missing any names. Jalen Wright could be. We might throw him on here. Giddens might be a candidate. I like Giddens a lot. Okay, so this is the talent pool. The next running back, the next Bucky Irving talent pool might be right here. And I'm not saying I can't revise this or maybe spitballing it. I missed somebody that I really like, and you can put in the comments if you think somebody's deserving. But I think from the deeper crew, I think we've got the potential bucket of players right here. So they're all special. Qualifier, in reverse order, reverse engineering, special, check. Who has a pathway that's really reasonable? You know, and you could say injury alone, right? Like Garendo's case, that works. But what would not be a good pathway would be like, let's say you had Algier on this list. Bijan, are you going to predict Bijan, a young, strong running back, to get hurt to be the next Bucky? And even so, like if he missed 2 or 3 games, the qualifier of pathway would be that once the player got in, once the new Bucky version of Bucky got in, so in the case of Sharps, he might not let go of their job even when the starter got healthy. So the pathway can't be there if it's Gibbs in front of you or Bijan or whatever, but it could be in these other cases. Or if the injury risk is so high because they're an older player like Christian McCaffrey, then it makes sense. So I'm going to start off by saying Sharps qualifies. I'm going to pass him through to the next bucket. He qualifies, we sift, and Sharps stays in, and he doesn't fall out of the sifter. And that's because Walker's constantly injured. He's actually injured right now as of June 18. And Sharps proved he's the number 2 running back in the league per start if you take his 5 games that he started last year and extrapolate it across an entire season. So Sharp gets put in that category. Ray Davis has a pathway. I believe so. He had 6 touchdowns as a rookie last year, and James Cook went down in yards and had a outlier touchdown season. I think there's a real pathway for him. Benson, pathway's there. Connor's getting older. Pacheco, he's in the starting role. That's why he's kind of an oddball in this group, because he's currently the starter. Cam Scattaboo, pathway's there. We'll see if he passes the next benchmark of situation. He might. Garendo, certainly the situation's present for him, the pathway, because Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy. Mitchell, it's there, but this one's more of a, like, Henry's getting older, but he still hasn't shown a lot of signs of missing an entire season or getting banged up. So, you know, he could slow down, and I would say Mitchell's pathway's there, but it's probably the most shaky so far. Brashard Smith, his competition is sitting right here, but in a sense, you're almost cuffing this duo because Brashard Smith can be had in like the last round of your draft, so you can kind of just cuff this duo together. Same thing with Toot and Bigsby. You can cuff them together, and their pathway's clearly there. Are we even going to be able to eliminate anybody? I think all the special guys that I'm identifying have the pathway already built into my thinking, because every single one of these guys has potential. I'm going to say Wright doesn't. I like Wright a lot, but I'm going to say, maybe. It's hard not to throw him in this next bucket, but we're going to cut him off here and say, look, you got to have a better path than A-Chan sitting in front of you. But I do like him a lot. Jaden Blue, pathway's there for sure. Jarquez Hunter, I'm going to say he's one of the best cuffs in fantasy, but is the pathway there? I mean, Kyron has had a boatload of carries. I'm going to say right now we'll take him off, but he is one of the better cuffs in fantasy. Dylan Sampson, look, he could get receiving work right away. The pathway's there. Jordan Mason, the pathway's there. He could get touchdown work right away. And Krosky Merritt, the pathway's there. Giddens, yeah, it's there because JT's always banged up. So we pretty much moved almost everybody over. Right? I left a couple out just to thin out the herd a little bit, but now we move on to the next phase. We're going to take everybody and in bucket number 2, which is pathway, and we're going to see who we can throw into number 1. Who is in a great offense? Charbonnet's not necessarily in a great offense, but his offense is going to suit him fine. They lean on him. They'll lean on the run. Changing staff could make that harder to dissect. But Mason, look, the offense is good. The situation is good. Davis, I mean, are we just going to throw everybody over again? Benson, the offense is good. Pacheco, the offense is good. Blue, the offense is good. Damn, man, this is going to get hard. Brashard Smith and Pacheco, obviously, together. Let me put those guys next to each other. Scattaboo, you could say the offensive line and situation. I love Scat, and he remains a very, very deep sleeper of mine, but the next Bucky, I'm going to say we'll take him off and make him a sleeper for sure. We're not hating on the kid at all. We've got Garendo, love Garendo, and Jordan James. Bigsby and Tootin qualify. Mitchell's in a great offense, so that's going to move him over. Krosky Merritt's in a great offense. Giddens is not in a great offense. I think that it's, as much as I love him, he's a good candidate. The offense sucks. The team won't move the ball. They won't live near the red zone, so we'll take him out. Sampson, I love him, but we have to try and think, deeply about this and eliminate some guys. The offense could be pretty good, and I think they run the ball fairly well at times, but they're also not necessarily giving Shador the start. There's going to be a quarterback carousel, and he's sharing carries with a young kid. So, the pathway's there, but is the offense going to be good enough? I don't know. I think we could probably leave him out and put him, like in the case of other players that we loved, that we talked about just a second ago, and taking Hunter out as an example, Scattaboo. I think we could say that Dylan Sampson maybe we'll leave him off, and then we'll thin the herd out again. And so now we've got these players right here, and we got to rank them. Okay, so this is where it's going to get a little bit where we start using a little intuition and some gut instinct, and just say that let's eliminate some of these guys and say that, look, I love Ray Davis, but the sum total of his situation with Cook there and the way they spread the ball around, I would say I love him. He made the finals, right? But we're going to go ahead and maybe knock him off this list, or at least we'll come back to him if we have room to rank him. I'm going to say that I love Jordan Mason. He doesn't catch a lot of balls, so maybe he is incapable of being as good as, let's say, the next Bucky deserves to be, and so he'll be a great person that can fill in and score touchdowns and be kind of a running back 3 or running back 2 at times savior. But we're going to take him off the list and just say, okay, he might not be good enough to crack this list. I think Pacheco's injury history makes me take him off this board, and I separate the Brashard Smith and Pacheco situation. I like Pacheco, but he's injury prone, but he made the finals. So everybody here made the finals. I don't want to hear later, oh, you got rid of the next Bucky on your list in your video, Smitty. He made the finals for a reason. Like Pacheco with the injury history, I got to make some hard, tough calls here. We probably won't rank all these guys. We'll start off with the top 4 and then move on from there. Man, I'm going to say Sharps is going to be an early leader to be 1. I love Benson. Benson looks good, but I'm going to say he's not going to be in the top 1 or 2. Bigsby and Tootin, look, the guy that produced the Bucky Irving last year was Liam Cohen, so he gets grandfathered in, just like McVay, in a sense, had to have Hunter at least considered. You get grandfathered in when you're the person that helped create that player we're comparing everybody to. Krosky Merritt's got a lot of upside, but I'll put him here because Brian Robinson Jr. is still there. There's still a lot that needs to happen. Garendo, Mitchell. I'm going to go ahead and take Mitchell off the board as well, even though I love him. He's a great cuff. There's still other running backs there. Brashard Smith, I like him a lot. Blue, I like a lot. This is tough. I'm going to say number 1 is Zach Charbonnet. He proved it last year. Top 2 running back numbers across 5 starts if you extrapolate it out. This is a monster when he's given the opportunity. Number 2, I'm going to say, is Tootin and Bigsby together, and I'm going to put them side by side right here. Let's move this and make some room. I think that, again, the grandfathered in Liam Cohen offense is going to potentially be the creator of the next Bucky yet again. I think I love Blue a lot. I think Blue could maybe... I think I'm going to go Garendo number 3, and then I'm going to go probably Blue number 4. I love Jaden Blue. His situation's really nice. Number 5 is going to be, let's say, Brashard Smith, number 5. Benson's nice. Krosky Merritt. Let's go potentially, we'll go 6. We'll go Benson, number 6, and we'll go Krosky Merritt, number 7. So that's kind of, and if I had to throw an 8 back on the board to get it to be a little more even here, let's go ahead and throw back on the board. Man, if Jordan Mason caught passes, I'd be very amped to put him up here. Pacheco, let's put Pacheco back on the board and just put him. I mean, if we're doing it with Tootin and Bigsby, we pretty much, I think, can do it with Pacheco and Brashard Smith. I don't see any reason why we can't have both of them on here if we're gonna play that game that way. So let's move Krosky Merritt down here. Let's put Benson over here. So Benson will be number 6, and then number 7 will be Krosky Merritt. We'll put Krosky Merritt right here, and then number 8 will be Ray Davis, I guess. I like Mitchell a lot. I want to make Mason a next Bucky candidate again, but I think this would be it right here. So Charbonnet, Tootin Bigsby, Guerrero, Jordan James kind of in the mix too on that cuff. Blue, Brashard Smith, Pacheco, Benson, Krosky Merritt, and Ray Davis. Best likelihood, if we're going deep, if we're not considering Harvey, we're not considering Hendy, we're not considering those RBs that get taken in like the 5-6 round range. You know what I'm saying? We can't include those guys, I don't think, and it really feel right, but they can be talked about. We can consider them. You know, Hampton, Hendy, Harvey, they're all obviously going to be the next Bucky Irving, or one of them will be in terms of impact. But if we're deep diving, this is kind of what we're working with. Judkins and Caleb Johnson as well. So don't in the comments say, what about Judkins and Caleb Johnson? I've already addressed it. This is it. Scatterboo deserves to maybe be on. Let's put Scat in the 9 spot. I know we said we were going to take him off, but I still really believe in this kid, and I don't want him to miss out on being ranked on the big board at the end of the day. His situation is what kind of holds him back a little bit, but you know, that's what orders it. Doesn't mean he's still not a consideration. So that is my top 10 or 9 most likely to be the next Bucky candidates. Thank you for watching, and just make sure you understand that, you know, in fantasy football, you got to have that edge, and you got to have somebody in your corner trying to scream from the rooftops who might be coming that other people can't see coming. And that's what I'm here for. That's what the show is here for. So subscribe if you're new. I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Also additionally live whenever big news breaks. And I'm additionally live most midnights Eastern for the Graveyard Show, the After Dark Show. See you all on the next one.